We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. It's Friday. Hopefully, your day is going well. Got some good news. We have a guest that's been on a number of times, but we haven't heard from for a long time. It is Jace from one of the two worst states in the country. Not places, they're very scenic, they're lovely places, but they're rabid red. And I'm talking about Texas, is where Jace is. The other one would be Florida. And you were kind of telling me before we came on that Texas has been worse in a bigger way and longer than Florida, which is saying something.
Yeah. The thing about Texas, of course, I've lived here, I lived in Missouri as a kid a little bit. Another, red state, but they're more blue than where we're going to be. But yeah, Texas is where our illustrious leader, Greg Abbott, is leading the charge now to where he's trying to get school vouchers. Well, they're not calling them vouchers anymore. They're calling them school choice. Well, school choice already exists down here. I mean, you don't have to,
Yeah.
you don't have to send your kid no whatever. But what it is, it's a tax break, and it's more money for the people that are well off. I mean, they're putting $1 billion away for it. And Greg Abbott was here in San Antonio, and he was talking to of course, he went to the church school. But what I haven't seen Abbott or the Republicans do is go to the public schools, trying to make them, say, hey, this isn't. They're telling us that is, but it's like you say, it's you're pissing on my leg. Tell me it's raining. They're
Right.
not. They're not going to public schools. They haven't. He's held up this money. Texas. They do. Texas is kind of not like Kentucky or Alabama. I mean, Texas. I mean, they make money. They have businesses here.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's because of the oil. But and what they're trying to do is they're trying to give they're trying to give property tax cuts. I get that. They're trying to run Texas as is, it's like Abbott was the king. They kind of like what Trump did. If anything, I think Trump kind of learned a little bit from Abbott, because they've done a thing down here to where they kicked off Democrats off, all the like the committees. And what's
Right.
happening now in the federals, they're trying to do that too. Just because those Democrats, gave Mike Johnson, a little hell when they censored another representative from Texas. So yeah, Texas is, like I said, they're calling it school choice, but it is school vouchers, and it's going to go towards the people that already send their kids there. They're bringing up homeschooling now. Well, if you homeschool your kid, that's your choice. And I shouldn't have to, as a taxpayer, should have to pay that. I shouldn't have to pay for we always hear about the Republicans. I don't want my tax dollars going to that. Well, as an agnostic, do I really want my tax dollars going to a Christian school? It's okay for you, but it's not okay for me.
Well, basically, vouchers or whatever they want to call them right now are a tax break for rich people at the detriment of the middle class and poor people. We shouldn't be surprised about that. For as shitty as the politics are down in Texas with Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz and some of the other fucks down there, you've got two people of note that are representatives. You brought up Al Green, not by name, but Al Green, of course, is well known for speaking out and that sort of thing. And Al Green went through some shit just yesterday with being censured by the Republicans. And of course, Jasmine Crockett, who's an absolute rock star. What do you know about Al Green? We know less about him, but he is the one guy in Congress, Democrats or Republicans, that stood up and says, you don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid. He did it 3 times. They threatened to kick him out. And as one time was said, he got into some good trouble and got his ass hauled out of Congress.
Well, I knew he was probably going to get censured because that's what the Republicans do. I mean, they have a short memory of what they call her, insurrection Barbie, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right.
What she did last year and what she did this year. She was wearing like a MAGA hat. I mean, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
But Mike Johnson, Trump's got his cojones in his box on his desk next to his Diet Coke. But the Al Green, he's been around a while, and I can remember when I was a Republican that they used to kind of, they're talking about he's going to bring up, articles of impeachment against Trump, but he did that against Bush. I mean, he's been in there a while. He's done it for a while. So what the
Right.
Republicans, they try to normalize, like, a Marjorie Taylor Greene or who's Kid Rock's new girlfriend, Bolbert. But they try to make, Maxine Waters and him crazy,
Well, they're
Pelosi.
black. Of course they're
Well,
crazy. They're
yeah,
black.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, they do it to Pelosi too. But it's like everything they accuse the Democrats of, and what I remember them growing up. I mean, growing up, they were crooks. They did all this stuff, and our buddy George Soros, that pays us really well.
Yeah.
They do all this stuff, but on the other hand, they're like trying to normalize. They're trying to normalize. They're normalizing it. They're normalizing criminality. I guess what you say. I mean, it's January 6th. What are you hearing now when you say about, you need to get over that? And I'm like, no, we don't need to get over that. We never needed to forget that stuff. But yeah, he's done what it didn't surprise me the Republicans did that. And it shouldn't really have surprised me, but the 10 Democrats that voted to do that as well, when they were just wanted you to hold up a sign and go lie. I mean, it's like, I don't know what the Democrats did too much. I know they can't really do anything. But not to support him and to vote with the Republicans to censure him. You think any Republicans would have done that with Marjorie Taylor Greene or Boebert? I mean, they didn't even bring it up. It's
Oh, hell no.
it's a disgrace what those 10 Democrats did, and a couple of them from Texas, so it may have been personal.
No, I don't know if there was any from Texas.
Yeah, there were
I
like
got
three
the
of
list. I got the list here.
there were like 2 or 3 of them from Texas that voted to with the 10. I read that today.
Okay, I'm missing
One
some.
was
Then
Henry
there's more
Cuellar,
too.
and I think he's the one that was under indictment, so that doesn't surprise me. But there were, I mean, it shouldn't matter. I mean, the Democrats, if anything, all the shit show that's going on around, they can't do much, but they can be united. And I must say, I've been very disappointed. I mean, I used to think this way, and I've said on your show one time that, AOC is crazy. No, if she's crazy, she's the exact same kind of crazy we need.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, it's like, Pelosi and Schumer. I mean, it's like, I mean, I read an article today that I agreed with. I mean, okay, what's Schumer's plan? They don't have a plan. They're going to
No,
hold
they
up
don't have a fucking
signs.
plan.
There's no plan to counter a plan against anything. You know who had a plan? Biden, and they pissed all over him for that. Why are
Yeah.
these people, like Pelosi, like Schumer, that are just as old as Biden, why are they gone? And Biden, he lost a step or two. I'm 52. I lost several steps. You think
Right.
Trump's normal and insane? I'm not going to say. I mean, James Carville's bringing up, stop talking about the hands, and I won't accuse him of that. But it's just so much hypocrisy, and it's like me. It's just like I look at that, and it's just like, I mean, I don't know where, and he's going to blame the Democrats for the shutdown when it happens. And you know what? I don't see them fighting back enough to say the people may not believe it. I
But
mean,
the thing about it is that the fact that they censured Al Green and there wasn't any censure for Marjorie Taylor Greene, which was as bad or worse than what Al Green did a year ago or 2 years ago. That's not the Republicans' fault. That's the Democrats' fault. The Republicans jumped on it right away and said, we're going to censure this guy, which seemed like a pussy ass thing to do. But the Democrats refused to do it. And you bring up the 10 people. There may be more because the 10 I have, none of them are from Texas, but there may be more than 10. But the names I have that voted for censoring Al Green are Jim Himes of Connecticut, Laura Gillen of New York, Jim Costa from California, Ed Case from Hawaii, Ami Bera from California, Chrissy Houlihan, Pennsylvania, Marcy Kaptur, Ohio, Marie Glusenkamp Perez from Washington, Tom Swozey from New York, and our buddy Jared Moskowitz from fucking Florida. Every one of those people should be primaried in 26.
Yeah, that's what they do down here. Like when you voted against Abbott's Boucherville, or you voted against the person that tried to, convict our attorney general. They primaried them, and you know what? They lost. I mean, they lost, and yeah, and I I don't know. There's so much stuff out there. I could have sworn I read something. I know Henry Cuellar's name was on there, and I don't know, man. There's just so much. I thought that was one of them. It could have been the ones that didn't. I don't know, but I mean, there were 10 of them, and that's 10 too many. One is one too many. I mean, if it would have been in the Senate, it would have been Fetterman. I mean, I just don't get it, and I think it's a lack of leadership. I think I mean, with Joe Biden gone and Kamala, you don't have that leadership anymore. You don't have anything to whip it into shape. I mean, you say what you want there about Biden, but I mean, he worked with McCarthy, got McCarthy and Johnson to do his bidding and outsmarted him. You don't have a Democrat there anymore. So it's like the Republicans wanting to destroy all the government agencies. They're not building anything. What they want to do now is they got a big hard on, so to speak, for the Department of Education. I mean, there's a lot of people that are help with that, and a lot of that is special needs children. But it's like the Republicans aren't building anything. It's just that they want to just destroy. And it's like the CHIPS Act. Trump wanted to destroy that because that was Biden's idea. And then you had Cornyn from here and a couple other Republicans in the Senate saying, no, that ain't happening. We can look to, make it better, their way of better, but not destroy it. But they're firing all these people. They're firing all these people, and they're having to bring them back. I mean, how would you feel, Mike, if you worked for a company? You're an FBI agent, a CIA agent. You're doing all this stuff, and you're getting fired and asked to come back, and then you have a call from Vladimir or China wanted you to go work for there. I mean, are you gonna really go back to that girl that broke your heart? Or are you gonna go, hey, there's a new adventure here? And and the way that our government is always, I do believe Russia is poor and everything, but China's not. China's going to be the world leader. And there was that other app that when they got rid of TikTok, it was on there, and I don't know if they have, a gun to their head or, making them do this stuff, but the Chinese people are very friendly. You know what I mean? And, you can't, I mean, you got to know them, and people were talking to them because that was the one that, that was the app that they have in China. And you're seeing this other thing. You're not seeing like it poor and desolate. I mean, you're seeing a lot of productivity in China. And
I think it's common practice for countries like America, China, and Russia to portray the other countries as desolate or horrible. And that's probably not true. I mean, let's take a look at Russia. We were always led to believe when we were growing up that Russia was a horrible place. Everybody in Russia was horrible. Well, we've had opportunities to meet Russian people, and some of them are very nice and very decent people. Their only problem is their leader is a fucking murderous dictator. Yep. So if we look at Russia and good people in Russia and Vladimir Putin, how are we any different than them currently with Donald Trump and the Trump-la-fucks running the show? We're basically the same as Russia in the sense that we do have good people that want to just live our lives, but we have the misfortune of having fucked up leaders.
And we're headed towards that way. I tell people all the time, they ask me my biggest problem with the Republican Party and Trump. One of them, is somebody that was indoctrinated as a child and you believe, like if believe in Jesus and all this stuff, you're going to burn in hell, even though, you're a child, you're going to be in heaven with God, but grandma's going to be, getting struck by the pitchfork with Lucifer downstairs. Yeah. I mean, it's just not a good way to think. And I tell people that too, that my biggest problem with vouchers is that it's supporting something I don't like, as much as Republicans don't want transgender people or gay people or whatever in the bathroom, you know what I mean? And that's to them, that's a big deal. I mean, they don't look at the other side of what you have a problem with either, because to them, they're doing they're doing their savior's work, Christ or whatever you call him. Right. But what we don't realize in America, that we're headed towards the way it is in Iraq and Iran, or maybe Iran more likely, I fear that right-wing part Christian nationalism as much as I do like, what took over Iran. Because you look at pictures of Iran before the terrorists, the Ayatollah took over in the late 70s. I mean, women were wearing mini skirts, women they didn't have to be covered up. I mean, it was a progressive, and I don't mean the Democrat way, but it was a progressive country.
For the area, it was progressive,
Yeah,
and if you saw the pictures, it didn't look that much different than the United States in the mid early 70s.
yeah,
I
and you
want
talk.
no, go ahead.
Well, and one more thing, you're talking about, the Chinese and the Russians, good people. They had a thing there where they were talking about those, the kids were there and they love America.
Yeah,
They love America. They have no problem with us. It's our leaders that are doing it. And with like, Iran, Russia, and China, I think that we're headed that way with this country because people laugh Trump off about a third term. I don't think he'll do it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why.
oh, he'll be
But
dead
I
by
mean,
then.
they're
He'll be
dead
dead by
serious of
then.
this shit. I mean, you think that they're joking. Oh, that's just Trump talking. There's a movement behind Trump to do this. And that's why
Yeah, but
JD Vance is up there too. And I know
there's
I don't, but
there's a lot of movements for stupid shit that's never going to happen because there's just no supporting. I wanted to bring something else up about Texas. Then I want to talk about education a little bit because you work in a school district and my wife was a teacher and I worked in a school district for a while. But everybody talks about what should we do? What should the Democrats do? And no one seems to know what the Democrats should do. There is one person in the Democratic Party that knows what to do and is doing what they're supposed to do. And they happen to be a representative from the state of Texas, your state, and that is Jasmine Crockett. Now,
yes.
people say, well, what is she doing? She's speaking up, she's speaking loud, she's attacking, she's getting in people's faces. That may not be the best political advice. There's other ways to do it, but we're in a different fucking world now. If anybody says, what do I need to do? Watch what Jasmine Crockett is doing. Watch what these people are doing because it changes the narrative. And if you don't believe it, look at the last fucking 8 years with Donald Trump. The noise, the ranting, the raving, the calling of names, whatever it takes. It may be distasteful to you, but we know it fucking works. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, it's just a shame there's not more like her down here. I mean, there's a couple that are,
Anywhere.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing about you're talking about the Democrats down here are with they called out the superintendents of the schools saying you're too nice, you just take it, you don't fight enough. But I mean, I'm not a superintendent, but there's a lot of stuff that the superintendents are worrying about, and a lot of it ain't funding. I mean, there's a lot of shit
Yeah.
they got to run on, and
Right.
the Democrats have no power. And and it's really bad here in Texas. I mean, what was it, Mike? 6 months ago, we thought Colin Allred was going to beat Ted Cruz. There's no way he'd lose. It's the same
No.
shit that I thought. I mean, but it's gotten worse because you ran a liberal in Beto, and you ran a moderate, and it's like neither one of them worked. And I think that there's no leadership down here either. But
Yeah.
to tell, superintendent, oh, y'all need to, I mean, well, you're my representative. I shouldn't have to be in, Austin all the time doing this. You should be doing it. And if we could clone Jasmine Crockett, she's in Washington, but we could put her up in Austin, I think a lot more shit would get done. Because we had one of the representatives, she died, and I forget the guy's name, but there's so much crap going on. I was driving to work today and I saw the flags at half mast. I'm like, what? It's the our congressman that replaced the one that just died last year
Yeah.
out of
I heard
Houston.
about that.
This the what I refuse to call it a state of the union. I mean, the state of
Right.
disillusion. But he died too. I mean, he was only 70. I mean, he was like, wow. And I mean, he was there. And I mean, and now they're having to replace him. And, Abbott's going to do that. I mean, he's a governor in Texas, but evidently I heard Abbott say this, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but Abbott and him were close. He's a Democrat. There's your problem right there.
Yeah.
They're all, and it's like the thing with, at Jimmy Carter's funeral. I sit there and I mean, I have nothing against Obama, but he was yucking it up with, Trump. I mean, and I know it's his, I know he doesn't like Trump. I know Trump's gone after him, but I'm not telling Obama to hit anybody, but that's, that's just very, I don't know what to say. I mean, even George Bush didn't, Dick, what's his name's wife. I mean, Mike Pence's wife. They need more people like her. No, you try to kill my husband, or you set the troops on him. I'm not going to shake your hand. I mean, you
Yeah.
have so many people doing it, but when I heard Greg Abbott say that, yeah, part of me's like, oh, that's cool. He's talking good about a Democrat, which, never hear that. But it's like, that's the problem. They work together, but the Republicans aren't playing the same game that Democrats are. Jasmine Crockett is. And when you say if we could clone her and AOC and Elizabeth Warren, I mean, notice when they can't beat the argument, they call them crazy.
Yeah, they do
It's like,
call them. You notice something that's interesting, though, and this should be something we should take note of. It's something I kind of employed when I started doing this. People will say, we can't go against the rules. We've got to be above it all. And when I started doing TikToks, I said, fuck that. That's not me. I'm just going to be me and see what happens. Jasmine Crockett, it's funny. You will see Republicans go after AOC and some of the other people. Well, fuck with Jasmine Crockett. You never hear anybody say a bad word about Jasmine Crockett. And you know why? Because if they do, they're going to fucking pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the attitude we need here. This is what we need in order to fight back.
Well, that's the way it is with bullies. I mean, when you stand up to them, they back off. And the thing about another kind of example of that is Greg Popovich. I've never heard Trump say anything about Greg Popovich, but I've heard Popovich say a lot of stuff about him. Yeah. And I think that, I think there's certain people, that fear him, that he's afraid of. He's afraid of, he's afraid evidently of, having a tariff, go into effect. That's the biggest joke there is. But the Democrats need to learn something. And one of the biggest examples was what happened at the State of the Union is when they're going to cut all this funding for cancer. But then they put this little kid up there in a cop uniform. And the Democrats like Nicole Wallace, well, not really a Democrat, and, Rachel Maddow, yeah. They point out, what's going on here, that, they don't have a problem with the kid doesn't know any better, but the adults in the room should. And his dad got upset saying, well, they just rained on the parade. Well, Dad, you need to realize this, that, your son's going to get this notoriety, but, down the road, they're going to forget about him. They're going to cut that. They're going to cut that stuff for, they stopped cancer research, Mike. My God. It's like, how can any person who claims to be a Christian support that?
If I'd been that kid's dad, I would not have gone to that event knowing what I know about Donald Trump. Over and above cutting cancer research, you remember the story how Donald Trump's nephew came to him and his kid was horribly sick, had cancer. And Donald Trump's response was, he's not going to have a good life. You should probably let him die. That's who we're talking about. And in terms of people not clapping for this kid with cancer, it had nothing to do with the kid. It had to do with the fact that they were taking this kid and making him a pawn, making him an object for their benefit, even though they don't give a fuck about him. What that dad and the kid and everybody else have to understand, what they were doing by not clapping or not supporting Donald Trump is not buying into the game that's going to fuck them over ultimately and cause these people to go broke or not have enough money to get their kid taken care of. You got to take a look at that. Just because the president says, I want to hug you and say you're great, and you get this one-time photo op, I don't give a fuck about a one-time photo op. I want my kid healthy. And if you can't bring me that, fuck you.
But that's the audience you're looking at. And, speaking of that, coming from that audience, before, it's the pro wrestling thing. It's the USA, that's what it is, because I was like that at one time. When we used to write checks that had the American flag on it, don't you say anything bad about America because Ronald Reagan. It's and that's why he likes rallies so much, because it's like a wrestling event. It's like almost like a concert. Yeah. It's the adrenaline, and you just and it's like, But I mean, we're getting to the point to where it's almost an addiction to that guy. I mean, all the stuff we've seen with this guy and all the stuff he's pulled. I mean, it's like Jasmine was on there, asking him, well, do you know anybody that has 34 felonies? And I mean, I saw the clip of it.
That
And
was
it's like,
awesome.
and she told Marjorie Taylor Greene, you want to go, gosh, she don't give a fuck. Marjorie Taylor, Jasmine Crockett is the woman that Marjorie Taylor Greene wishes she was. She
Yeah.
wishes she was badass. She wishes she had the love of her constituents, but she doesn't. She's a bully that, like, they like to pick on AOC because she's small in stature, and
Right.
her voice is not, I mean, when you look up to Jasmine, it's very, forceful. You know what? You're not fucking, you're not going to fuck with this girl. AOC is a little bit more. She gets kind of like that, when you're kind of nervous talking,
Yeah,
because
she's
it
passionate, but she's a little more refined. And I'm not saying that Jasmine Crockett's not refined, but Jasmine Crockett can go from a very intelligent, well, she's always intelligent. She can go from refined, and she can take that shit right to the street. And if you grew up in my neighborhood, you had a girl talking like that, you do not get in a fight with that girl because you're going to get your ass kicked. But every time she goes kind of street, I'm thinking, okay, she's going to revert back to something. She's going to say something dumb. She doesn't every fucking time. She has the lawyer mind, but she's taking it to the street. And that's what scares these motherfuckers.
And even when I see Hakeem Jeffries on TV, it's like he's got the speech memorized so much that he's doing talking points. He's almost like a used car salesman or a car salesman in
Yeah.
general. That he goes, American people must do that. I mean, and I like the guy. I mean, I've supported him, and I still do.
I like him, but I think he's losing ground because he's too tied up with the old people, the establishment,
Yeah.
Pelosi, and all this shit. But he has a pattern where he does this. He'll be talking like this, and he
Yes.
go
Yes.
da da
Yes.
da da da
Yes.
da 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 da. It's kind of cool every once in a while, but not every motherfucking time. Have a personality. You look
But
like a robot sometimes, and that's what troubles me about him.
he's
There's
not
no emotion.
being himself, because I see him in interviews, and the guy is very personable.
Oh yeah,
Seems like a good dude.
I think
But
so too.
he needs to, and that's what Crockett is. What you see is what you get. She ain't putting on no mask. She ain't like Ted Cruz. She ain't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump, it's like Howard Stern said that his the people who go to his rallies would never be invited to Mar-a-Lago. And speaking of the State of the Union, and also that fight with Zelensky, it's probably the last Republican I thought about supporting. Goes back to 16, was Marco Rubio,
Mm-hmm.
because he at one time stood up to Trump. He at one time, you go back and listen to some of the stuff he said, like Lindsey Graham, that's totally different now. I mean, it's like that. I'm not much to quote the Bible, but there's that Bible. I mean, what profit the man if he gain the world but lose his soul? And that's exactly what happened to Mark. And he was said, well, if it doesn't go okay with the Panama Canal, we're going to blame Marco. And everybody thinks he's joking. He ain't joking. I
Oh,
mean, how many relationships has Trump had with people besides probably Steve Bannon, and he's still not in the inside anymore? When
no.
you leave Trump, it's like he doesn't forget. And he hasn't forgot the little Marco stuff. He hasn't, and that's why he was so, wanting to get Matt Gaetz on there, because Matt Gaetz, never turned against him. That's what he
He,
wanted.
he's a suck up. And, we were talking about bullies and how to handle bullies. And some people may disagree with how I would do it or how you would do it by getting in their face and bullying them back. But if you want some examples of how to handle a bully, number one is Zelensky with Donald Trump.
Yes.
Donald Trump gets irate and he starts ranting at Zelensky. Now, in normal situations, whether you be a Republican or some Democrats, they go, oh God, I'm overwhelmed. They do it in the media with him. They just sit back and let him go. Zelensky didn't do that. He got forward and started talking back. And that's why Donald Trump got mad. I've been in that situation many times with a malignant narcissist with my father. As long as I sat back and was cool, he'd rant and it would be over. The moment I talked back, then it ramped up. Donald Trump got upset that this guy was calling him out and would not back down. His strategy is to yell louder than anybody and have you demur and give up. When you don't give up, that's where he gets fucked. That's where he gets unhinged. And Zelensky did exactly what he should do. The idea that he wasn't respectful. Donald Trump was trying to bum rush this motherfucker into a deal and hand it to Vladimir Putin. I don't care what anybody says because he's offered nothing in return for those minerals. Zelensky would have been fucking crazy to sign that deal, and I'm glad he didn't.
Well, the thing about what the thing that I think Marco Rubio, if there's any bit of decency still inside of him from 2016, is the way I looked at when I saw Zelensky stand up to Trump and Vance. You look at Vance and you look at Trump, and they're there for a photo op. Why did you come here and say this on live TV? Well, you didn't have to make it on live TV. Zelensky has nothing to do with that.
It was him, yeah.
What he's fighting for is survival. He's
Right.
not fighting to be on Fox Hannity's show, even though he went on Fox right after that. And why would he do that? Because why would he come to America? He has to do this. He's kind of kissing up, not only kissing up to Trump now, but kind of, well, we need to work this out. He is trying, he is not trying to better himself or make himself the star. He's trying to save his country. And, a lot of people, well, he shouldn't have done this. Well, the guy doesn't really have a freaking choice. He's in a war right now. And when he said that shit about not, I'll wear a suit when this is over, he's goddamn right about that. He's not there. Churchill didn't fucking wear a suit when he went and saw Roosevelt at the fucking White House,
Right.
And that Elon dude, don't get me started on him, but he's fighting for his survival. And, the Republicans that I grew up with, and maybe, and they're a little bit older than me, the people like, JD Vance, a little bit younger than me, but we were always raised on how great Ronald Reagan was. Ronald Reagan was a lot of things, but Ronald Reagan was not a traitor to side with Russia. So,
no,
you talk
not
about
like Russia.
You talk and in a lot of, and there's a debate like if he helped with the Berlin Wall. Well, he had something to do with it. I mean, he worked with Gorbachev on that stuff because Reagan, say what you want to, and I've seen people comment, well, and I'm not supporting Reagan because I don't feel like him like I did when I was a kid because, like I said, it was a wrestling move. Reagan did a lot of terrible things. He wasn't a treat. But he wasn't. He's got to be rolling in his grave right now. But the Republicans that are still around, like the Lindsey Grahams, like the Marco Rubios, even like the JD Vances, know that. But it's like now it's okay to support Russia and Putin. And it's like there's all these rumors that why does he support Putin? Well, and I've heard on a couple guests on your show how they broke into the Democrat and the Republican. I guess emails or whatever. They released all the stuff on the Democrats. They didn't do anything on the Republicans, so they could be doing something. And it's just, it's just something to see that now that you have. And I know these people, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know people. They're still fine with that. Yeah. They're still fine with what Trump said. And now you're coming at him. He's going after Social Security, the staff. He's going after the VA, which are the most like the people that are understaffed. They need more people in those departments, not less. And they're fine with that. They could literally. I'm not sure, Mike, if they take the money away, not all of them, but there will be some of them that still follow him. There was a
no doubt.
There was a thing on CNN, and I watched it. And it really, it showed how the media portrays stuff. There was a reporter, she was in some town, I don't know, they were Trump. There were like 3 people that voted for Trump, and they're all old timers that are, having their coffee in the morning. Well, the woman is just asking him, well, what about this taking your way? And this one guy got up and said, says, well, you're a liberal. You work for that communist news network. And she's just asking questions. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't see anything. But the headline that CNN put is that Trump voters still support Trump. But there was one guy on there that was with them, and it's on their website. And Peter, look at it. It made me laugh. He was, well, what about this? And this was a Trump guy that voted for him 3 times. That was asking questions because he sees the shit going on. You had one guy where they're not talking, but this one guy, I'm going to get up and leave and stuff. And then, what kind of gave me hope, and it, like you say, don't lose hope, is that those two walked off, and that lady was talking to that one guy that was, asking questions about, well, he said he wouldn't go after it. He said everything would be day one. And of course, well, he didn't really mean that. I mean, you always do here. And then that lady, she asked him, what do you think? And you know what, a guy that voted for Trump 3 times, that's older than both of us, well, hell, they'll just follow him. They'll just follow him off the ledge, won't they?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not, and maybe it's like 1 out of 3 people that do it, but you have that thing, that segment that they'll never turn on him. And I mean, a nuclear bomb can go off and they'd still be putting their MAGA hats on, dude.
And not everybody's going to walk away from him no matter what. But one of the things I've said, and some other people on the show have said, at some point you got to stand there and watch it burn down. And then somebody will come back to me and say, yeah, but people will suffer. I know they will suffer, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point. The good side of people suffering, that may be the one moment in time when these dumb motherfuckers get it through their heads. I don't like the idea of people suffering, but if that's what it's going to take to get their minds changed, let's bring the pain right away. That's why when we talk about these tariffs, this is another example of how to handle a bully. Donald Trump thought he could go to Canada and thought he could go to Mexico and bully them. And we're big America and I'm Donald Trump, most powerful man in the world. You're going to do this and you're going to like it. Well, Mexico and Canada said, fuck yourself. And he doesn't know what to do with it. So he puts tariffs on. And then he pulls back at the last minute because it looks bad for the economy. And at that point, he should have said, maybe I'll try a different idea. But Donald Trump cannot do that. He's got to double down and triple down. So he does put the tariffs on March 4th. The stock market goes to shit. Every major corporation, including the auto industry, saying, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck? And then he pulls it back again. This is the essence of Canada dealing with a bully the proper way. They stood up to him. They made some threats of their own, and Donald Trump backed off. That's how you deal with Donald Trump. Jasmine Crockett knows it. Some other people in the Congress know it, but not enough of them. And this is how our fight's got to be. Fuck you. No, Donnie. We're going to push this in your face. You don't scare me. You're a 79-year-old man who shits his pants. Why am I scared of you? And that's the attitude we should have for this.
Well, they say that, I don't know if it's, I read that a while, that they say that the Canadians, they were kind of going away from Trudeau, but with seeing all this stuff, he's kind of gaining support.
I bet.
I guess they say that because that guy that I guess was running was kind of right wing, kind of like their version of MAGA. Yeah. And it's like, why is it that Canada can see it, but we can't? I mean, we got away from Trump with Biden. Yeah. Was Biden perfect? No. But things were getting better, and I know it ain't everybody's economy, but it ain't much, and it's a lot worse now, and then you're watching. I saw that clip on Fox Business where was it Maria Baladado or whatever her name is? They were interviewing some car salesman out there, and he says, "Oh, this will go up $20,000, just like Ram 50," and boy, that pissed her off. And then that other guy that they didn't like saying that, when everything was good under Biden. Well, this is obviously Biden's, economy wasn't that close. I mean, it's like economy wasn't that good. And it's like, it's like Trump's doing all this crap, crashing the economy with that. I mean, and then Trump's on there. Oh, it's the globalist. I'm surprised he didn't blame the damn Democrats for, Oh. I'm surprised he didn't, it's like he blames them for everything else, but it's the globalists. Not even his base will believe it's the Democrats.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about it is what's the end game here? And this is the trouble with Donald Trump and people like him. There is no end game. It's still to push in hopes they'll finally give up. That's what he's trying to do. He did it the first time with the tariffs. They made him back off. He did it the second time, and he doubled down a little bit more. And now the stock market drops 1,300 points. The fastest it's dropped in like 15 years. And the last time it did it was when Donald Trump was in office around COVID. So Donald Trump is the one person who's caused the stock market to drop the most in, say, the last 20 or 30 years. That's on Donald Trump. You can't say it's Democrats' fault. But what's the end? See, this is the thing. So a mentality like Donald Trump, he will never say, oh, I was wrong. I should try something different. That didn't work. He'll never say that. He'll insist that it works and he'll keep doing it until he falls off the fucking cliff with those two people from Texas. He will never give up on this because he just cannot be wrong.
Well, that too, and it shows you too with the Zelensky thing again. There's a report that came out that he's going to, I guess, because he's so pissed off at Zelensky, I guess they're going to deny. I don't know if those people are here yet, but deport 240,000 Ukrainians.
Yeah.
It's because he's such somebody stood up to him. I mean, and people give Zelensky a lot of shit. Well, he caved. And all. I mean, Zelensky's thinking about his country. He's thinking about the people that are over here. And when he told Trump that they're going to come over here, you're lucky to be survived by the ocean. My God, that was something the Democrats should take a hold of and do, because he's right. I mean, it's after 9/11 happened. I remember people going, "Well, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner." I mean, it's stupid to think, especially the way we are now. Have we pissed everybody off? I mean, if something happened to us, I mean, do you think they would help us?
Well, I don't know why they would.
I mean, and you think about that, how Putin's just sitting back. He hasn't lifted a finger, and Trump's already alienated NATO and all this stuff. I mean, it's like, I remember when the stuff happened, I don't know what it was, but they were calling, the French did something, I guess, in America. Well, we saved their ass from Hitler and all this stuff. Who's going to save our ass? I mean, China's got the biggest army. Russia's, they work together on this. And what these Republicans don't realize is that Ukraine's just the start. There's Poland and there's other ones. And that's, what they don't, just give up. Well, yeah, it's easy for you to say when you're survived by oceans and stuff. And America's been very lucky that we haven't had more terrorists out. And a lot of it's because of the intelligence we have that's now getting eroded away. I mean, it's like, if anybody's doing anything to hurt us, it's all these cuts they're doing, because I mean, you're making enemies of people that and I've heard that all my whole life. It's like, oh, government job. And my dad said that to me one time. Oh, government job, huh? And I go, yeah, government job. And if I didn't do it, somebody fucking else would. I mean, it's like, it's a job. There's stuff to be doing. And, it's that anti-government thing that, it started with like Rush Limbaugh, because I'd heard that too. Like, when they shut down the government, it's like, but, all of a sudden the Republicans are fine with the clean continuing resolution bill because Trump's doing all this stuff. And they're saying it doesn't even, what he's cutting before Trump put him in Elon in timeout, it's not even saving anything. And it's like you said, if it's waste, it's already fucking gone.
Yeah, it's already spent, and there is no money to give anybody, and anybody thinks they're going to get a check, they're fucking stupid.
Shiny object, shiny object.
The interesting thing about Zelensky, he's clearly on the run a bit because his country is being attacked. But what I noted when Donald Trump was talking to Zelensky and after the fact and watching J.D. Vance, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are feeling pressure and they're feeling on the run. They told Putin and they told everybody else, oh, Zelensky's just going to come in here, sign away his shit. It's going to be easy as hell, art of the deal and all this stuff. And when he didn't do that, you saw where Donald Trump went to the desperation mode. If you don't sign this, we're out. He burned that fucking bridge. But as soon as he was gone, he was saying, all we want to do is come to the table, and Zelensky won't come to the table. Well, no, he's not going to come to the table if you're not going to feed that motherfucker too. It's not just you that gets to eat. Zelensky should get to eat. And then of course, J.D. Vance comes out and says, and this is where I knew they were in trouble. He goes over, now he's the darling in Europe. Everybody's crowding around him. Donald Trump tried to make him look bad, tried to kick him out of the way because he's too tough a leader. They wanted somebody weak that they could push around, he and Putin. He goes over to Europe and all these people are clamoring around him, willing to help him. And J.D. Vance comes out and says, Donald Trump's the only game in town. He's the only way he's going to win this war or come out of this clean. If he thinks he can go over with some random countries that haven't fought a war in 30 years is going to help him, He's got another thing coming. That motherfucker's in desperation mode because I tell you this, the European countries put more into Ukraine than America did, in spite of what Donald Trump says. He lied about how much we put in and that Europe was giving them loans. But there's one ace in the hole. I brought it up a number of times on the podcast, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. Hopefully, they will do this. Money's the big issue, right? In Europe, they have $300 billion in frozen Russian assets. Unfreeze those motherfuckers and hand them over to Ukraine and let them go to town. That would be just desserts. And JD Vance knows this, and Donald Trump knows this. And as much as they're trying to make it out that Russia's unstoppable and without America, we can't stop them, Russia is fucked up. Their economy is shit. They've lost 700,000 people. This motherfucking country is not in good shape right now. It's not like they're overpowering Ukraine, because they ain't.
You know how bad a shape Russia's in? They had to get the North Koreans to help them out.
And it turned out they were shitty soldiers too.
I tell you what, if I'm in North Korea and they put my ass in Russia, I'm going to go join the Ukrainians and fight against that to get the hell out of North Korea.
But a lot of Russians did that.
Yeah, but what does Trump do? You know, and he's doing that thing now where these people, you know, have nowhere to go, and he's going to deport them back to Ukraine to live here. I mean, he's threatening them to do that. That's what we're dealing with, because Zelensky stood up to him. And if anybody should have told Trump that Zelensky's no pushover, it's Putin. Because, and who knows, Putin's there is like, okay, I've tried all this shit. You try it now. And it's just, and Zelensky, I mean, he was arguing, but he wasn't disrespectful at all. He's a lot nicer than I would have been. You know what I mean? I mean, there's memes of showing him going WWE on Trump, and I mean, AI is crazy. I mean, it's like, no wonder people believe that shit's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I said, he's fighting for his country. They always told him, hey, he's a movie star in a reality TV show. Well, what's Trump? I mean, he's a reality TV star, but it's okay for Trump to do it, but Zelensky and not. And if anything, I think in Ukraine and kind of around them before this, I mean, it's like anything. You get tired of war, oh yeah. But this is kind of revved up his support. Even his rivals are saying they don't want I saw his rivals that Trump was calling for an election or something. Even his rivals said, no, it's not the time. We're at war. I mean, how many political rivals come to your aid during that? Because I mean, you say what you want to about the guy. The guy is little in stature, but he's all balls, dude. I mean, he's out there because he loves us. I wish we had a leader half that in this country.
Well, but when you think about it, they want a new leader because Zelensky's too tough. Even if you're the opposition guy, do you really want to take over a fucking country that's war torn, being overrun by Russians, and Donald Trump and Putin are going to push you in the corner to fold up and die? Nobody wants that fucking job. They want to get rid of him because he's a problem. He's the stumbling block, and Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are too weak. Vladimir Putin should have learned a lesson. All that time we spent in Afghanistan and how we got nowhere and we had to bolt out of there. Fucking Russia did it in Afghanistan before us. Why not learn a fucking lesson? Leave people alone unless you can overrun them. And you said you were going to do it in 3 days. 3 years later, you're still getting your ass kicked.
Oh, you didn't hear about that? That what Trump said, that when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, that's why the Russians invaded Ukraine. I go, whose freaking plan did Biden follow? I mean, it's like, he just talks. I mean, it's like he just talks out of his butt, and they just slurp it up. And it's like, I heard something that some of these Republicans, they're getting upset about the town halls and stuff. And they're told to avoid them. Well, I think they're in for a big surprise. It may not be all the Republicans, but it's going to be a lot of them. And he didn't win by much. It wasn't no mandate. And, but I mean, I still say, like you say, if they would have showed up for her like they did for Joe, she would have been no problem. But, they had problems with Joe. Joe was a little slow. Joe was a little old. He didn't give everything to Israel. But I also saw what's bad news for the Republicans is there was another poll on there, as much as we believe polls, the support for Israel is down.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, and a lot of it is because people don't, and a lot of people on the right that support Israel because they believe that, it's God's country. That's where Jesus came from. He's going to come down and rapture him. And you believe that, that's your deal. But there's a lot of people that don't believe that anymore. And they've seen how Israel kind of is. And I think that's kind of why they've lost support. And that's another bad news for Republicans, because that used to be a no stopper. I mean, you support Israel or else. And they're kind of losing
Israel. You support Israel or you're anti-Semitic. And I've said this before, and I think this is why they're losing support. The people of Israel are fine people, just like the people of America are fine people, and just like the people of Russia are fine people. The problem is the leadership. And in Israel, the leadership is fucked. And that is Benjamin Netanyahu. And we told these people, these far left or whoever was saying it, that Genocide Joe, he's not doing enough. Part of the reason that they're losing support is because Israel is starting to look like a villain. And what do I mean by that? Well, they were supposed to have a ceasefire. That hasn't happened. Benjamin Netanyahu has cut off humanitarian aid to Gaza. Donald Trump comes out and says, you give us those guys back or we're going to unleash hell. What's going to happen is exactly what I said before the election. Donald Trump is going to give them all the weapons and the free reign to do whatever they fucking want, and it's going to be a massacre because Israel could wipe out that whole area. The only reason Benjamin Netanyahu didn't do that already is because Biden pulled the reins back on him. So now you got Biden and Kamala out of there. You put Donald Trump in charge. Get ready for the massacre because that's the next step. They can't wait for that massacre. And they blame Israel for it. And it's not Israel. It's fucking Netanyahu and Donald Trump.
I'm old enough to remember when some good-looking blonde sat on a Democratic nominee for president and had to step down. Now we're talking about adding condos to the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's like, how is that not disqualifying? I mean, it's all I heard is about, Monica giving, Bill a Hummer and, that, and they impeached him for that, and, his buddy on the other side, Newt Gingrich, was doing the same thing. But it's like I put something on you said something and I put something on there. It's like, you know what? I just wish we could go back to like living through these, even when Biden was president and it wasn't on him. We're living through all these every day. It's a historical event.
Yeah, it really is. It's tiring.
Yeah, Joe was sleepy and quiet, but you didn't hear from him for a while. And I think Will mentioned that, or about that. It's like, yeah, I didn't hear from Biden. I didn't see Biden every day. That's what I want. I don't want to see Trump every day. And, I was stupid enough to think, well, they're tired of him. January 6th was it, the classified documents, I mean, it's like, I guess the documents on Hillary's laptop or Hunter's laptop are more important than the ones in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. I mean, and it's just, he's got so much shit going on that he wants to go. And they said that they want to, they want to do all these investigations on people. They don't have that much longer. I mean, it's already going to be a year and a half. I mean, we're pretty close to the midterms where we're getting closer all the time. Right. And I think that's why they want to do that continuing resolution, because they know that they're not going to get any help from the Democrats, and all they need is lose 2 votes, I guess, and they will, until I guess Abbott replaces that speaker down here. That's gives the Republicans another seat. That guy that just died.
Well, Abbott, as I understand it, maybe it's different in Texas. When it comes to the House of Representatives, you need a special election. When it comes to the Senate, the governor can appoint somebody. So you may be waiting for a special election with regards to the representative seat down there.
I don't know. They asked him about that, if he's going to appoint somebody, but he said there could be a runoff or something. I don't really. I mean, it happened so quick that I don't know if he appoints anybody, but it's and he's in the. I guess he's in the, because I must admit that I know Paul. I'm not like you or Eric that and they know the makeup, because when I see Jasmine Crockett and she's from Texas. Well, why is she down here with us? You know what I mean? I don't want her up in Washington. I want her here down here in the Texas Senate. But so I get kind of confused. Is he in the state house or the federal? I mean, you kind of get it, but there's a new battle that's kind of brewing. I mean, the Republicans are at war. I mean, with each other, the MAGA thing,
Oh
because
yeah,
our illustrious Kim Bondi, or what's her name, the one that's
Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi, Kim
G.
Pam,
Yeah.
whatever. Well, evidently, I guess her threatening to release the Epstein list kind of surprised the White House, and so she's in a little bit of trouble right now. And
Now
it's so
Donald Trump does
funny.
not want that. I wonder why.
Well, it's so funny. I hear about this from Republicans all the time. Well, with the list, and we all know Bill Clinton's on there. Well, I forgot. I admit that Bill Clinton's on there, but Stephen
Don't
Hawkins was
care.
on there. But their boy Trump's on there, and it's like, and what I don't think gets enough, can you imagine if Bill Clinton was president and Epstein, what happened to Epstein happened under Bill Clinton's watch? The very right would be all over that crap. But who was president when Epstein, slipped on the soap or whatever, came to an unfortunate end? But
Right.
that's the problem, is this, that Republicans play by a different set of rules. They don't play by rules. They don't do the law or nothing. They ignore judges. And I mean, stuff. Democrats, I'm not telling them to break the law, but I mean, get a game plan going. Get you some new blood in there. I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want a representative up there, arguing and going to hit me with his cane. No offense to people who use canes, but
Right.
I mean, get some young blood in there. And what Pelosi did to AOC, that's bullshit.
It
And
is.
Hakeem Jeffries, he's a safe bet because it's by Pelosi pick, but they need to. I mean, is Pelosi going to retire? I thought she was done, and she's back up. They need to primary her, get her out of there. But Democrats need to get younger. They need to get younger, and yeah, they're going to be more progressive probably than what we are. But maybe that's a good thing, because I tell you what, I don't recognize the Republican Party, because I always was, when I was a Republican, I didn't want them in my bedroom. I didn't want them telling me what I could drink or smoke,
Yeah.
but right now, they want to go after, they want to track women's periods and shit. I mean, they want to, I think there's a law that they're trying to do something with, something they're kind of in the quiet parts going after gay marriage down here. I mean, it's like, if, those people pay taxes like anybody else, they're not hurting anybody. And I had a friend of mine that's a, coworker. Well, not really a friend. I guess we're kind of acquaintances, but honestly down here, Mike, I mean, I make nice with people because I have to,
Yeah.
because I mean, I can't, I think I do a little bit more than the Democrats do. I don't, like, if one of my Democrats friends says something and argues with a Republican, I don't go join the Republican and tell him to sit down. I don't censor him like,
Right.
Congress, the in Congress did. But he told me the other day, he goes, I just want to be left alone. And I go, what do you think the gay, transgender, what do you think they want to be? What do you think about the heathens out there like me that, I mean, I go to a football game and they do a moment of silence. They don't bug me. I don't care. I'm not throwing a fit, but I'm not going to pray to something I don't believe in either. Moment of silence is fine. And that was fine. Don't ask, don't tell was, there. But it's like they did away with it because, it's like, we don't need to know your sexuality. I want to know if you're going to fight, if you're going to be in the trenches with me, protecting me and my brothers or sisters. I don't care who you go out with to dinner or who you live with. It's the little shit that, that they know a lot of people don't care. And that was real scary for the Republicans. So that's why they're getting so extreme, because they're trying to scare people. Well, that guy's, illegal alien. And I told another coworker of mine, was saying, it was talking about something about the three or 4 trillion hitting the federal, you know what she told me? Well, we need that to do all the deportations. I go, we don't need that much money to do deportations. They're given to the oligarchs. They're given to, they're not going to do anything for us. You make anything under 400,000, you're screwed. I mean, I'll never make 400,000 a year in my life. I'll never get that shit. And they're not giving it back to us. They're doing it because they're robbing the treasury for their
Next
benefit.
time, next time you talk to a Republican, explain to them that we fired more Americans than we've deported illegal immigrants.
Yep.
Donald Trump has deported less illegal immigrants than either Joe Biden or Barack Obama did in the same time period. So he's not doing well with regards to that. You mentioned something. You said, some of these younger people might be more progressive and not thinking like us. Here's the thing. I don't give a fuck
I don't either.
what the progressives or anybody want. All I want is it to be legal, decent, and fair for all people. In terms of what's going to happen 20 years from now, that's not for me to say. What I
Yep.
think in terms of politics doesn't mean shit. I'm thinking about the future for these young people. And if they want it real progressive or they want it real conservative, whatever they want, they got to live with it, but at least have it legitimate and legal and democratic. That's all I ask. I don't care what your politics are. I'm not fighting against politics. I'm fighting against crime. I'm fighting against the corruption.
Yep.
If we had conservative, to be perfectly honest, if a Republican's really fucking smart, they'd get a little faction of normal Republicans. There's a guy down in Texas, I think, a young guy in Texas that my brother keeps sending me stuff, and I can't remember his name.
He was
But
the one that was. He was the one that was kind of. He was supporting. Colin against Ted Cruz. I know you're talking about. I'm horrible with names, but I know you're talking about. Yeah.
He's a conservative. He's a young Republican, but he's law abiding. He believes in the rule of law, and he's a serious candidate. If Republicans were smart, they try to weasel their way out of this fucking bullshit they're in and get some decent people. Because with the Democrats in the disarray they are, they could actually beat the Democrats if they could separate themselves from the shit show that is now the Republican Party or
Yeah.
MAGA Party.
Well, the older generation, a lot of generation that I know, my age and probably a little bit older, they're so if it has a D next to it, they can't vote for it because that's what I grew up with. That's what I grew up with. Like, oh no, we're always Republicans because Republicans are God's party or whatever, and you have them to this day. So that's when I kind of talk about the younger ones being kind of more progressive. That will be a good thing because to me, a progressive is somebody that votes for the best candidate. And I think, I kind of experimented with, Republicans and everything, but I started out as a Democrat. I voted for Bill Clinton. You know why? Because I was a Gen Xer. Bill Clinton went on MTV, talked about boxers and briefs, talked about not
Played
in
the
hell.
saxophone.
Went on, Arsenio Hall played it, talked to my generation for it. And, they always say that, well, if it wasn't for Perot, Bush would have won. I don't know. I used to believe that. I don't know. I think Clinton would have probably pulled more. I think a lot of the Perot voters were tired of Bush because Bush went. I mean, like I said, I was raised in a Christian school. I went to see George H.W. Bush in McAllen, Texas from my school. And it was all this where, and they were working on school vouchers back then, even though I was a private school. And my dad always told me that he sent me to private school because he didn't want me with the bad kids. Well, this private school I went to was attached to a children's home, and those children were sent to the children's home for a reason. So I met some, I went to both public and private. I shook George H.W. and I go, oh, yeah, he's the president. I was a kid. Did I vote for him, though, when he ran against Clinton? No, because Clinton talked to me. And then, Clinton came in there, and then the Rush Limbaugh effect took place, and I went on my run. But I eventually came back. And I do consider myself, I'm more of a progressive because the progressives are the ones that vote for the candidate. The Republicans are the ones that vote for the party. And voting for both, I certainly believe that. They're going to vote for Republicans no matter what. And that's why I don't think they're really too scared about the town halls, about ignoring them, because they know a lot of that base, they'll still support them. I mean, look what they've done already, what's taking some money away,
Yeah. Well, the thing about George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton won for, and he was just out of nowhere. He won for one very good reason. When George H.W. Bush came in and they had the skirmish, which we won easily, George H.W. Bush had the highest approval rating of any president in history. But then the economy went to shit. And that's all that matters to people. So there were a lot of Democrats that decided not to run against George H.W. Bush because he was riding high. Yeah. And then at the last minute, the economy takes a shit. The door's left open for some governor from Arkansas, for fuck's sake, that nobody's ever heard. He steps up. He happens to be somewhat charismatic and young enough, and he beats George H.W. Bush. It was a perfect storm, if you will.
Yeah, and they threw everything at him. It's like the Hillary effect. it's like, I mean, it's, they've accused her for everything from, trying to give people health care to murder. I mean, and I think that's why in like in 2016, I was like, well, it's the Hillary effect. And I always said, well, they'll never vote for her. But I mean, yeah, you say it's the economy, but it's not the economy when it's their guy. And the
No,
Republican voter today is not the Republican voter from 1990 or whenever it was. There is
no,
no more Reagan conservative. There is no more. I think there's a lot of Reagan Democrats, and I
yeah.
think those Reagan Democrats will vote for they weren't paying attention. But it's with, and I help people tell me all the time, and I hear this from Democrats is that, well, Elon did this, but I don't see any proof. I have had nobody come out there and see no proof, and they're blaming. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I don't trust Elon as far as I can throw him, but I mean, you got to stay on focus with the message and not get caught up in being bitter about stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta, like you say, stay positive. And I know that pisses people off when you say that, like, I mean, some people just want to stay angry. I mean, that's what a lot of the Republican voters are. Obama said at
They
one
do.
time when I didn't vote for Obama, I voted for Hillary and since on, I voted for McCain, I voted for Romney. I don't regret McCain because I think he was the last good, decent Republican. But
Me
there was
too.
something that Obama said that he said that they want to clench to their guns and their Bibles.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I agreed with him. I go, he's 100% right. They don't want an African American being president, and they're so afraid. And I thought we were past it. I thought we were got a pass like that, but Kamala was, you know the Democrats let her down. He got about the same kind of votes Trump got about the same money he did before, but they didn't turn out for her like they did for Joe. And people tell me I'm crazy. I still think Biden would have won. And they were
I
giving
think
him a
so
bunch of
too.
they were still giving him a bunch of shit about saying it's a stab in the back to Kamala and stuff like that. Kamala didn't push this. It was the other ones that lead the party. It's George Clooney had to write a letter. I mean, that's the ones that did it. Kamala was on board because she would have rode with him to the next. I mean, she took over because it was her chance. But the best thing could have happened was for Joe to win, and then it'd be her turn. And I think the Democrats really screwed up is when when they pushed Obama, they should have let Hillary win and do her thing. But Bernie Sanders, that's another story we won't talk about. Obama was ahead of his time, and I think it screwed up kind of the projection of the Republicans or the Democrats. Hillary had her thing. Maybe she has one term, maybe she has two terms, then Obama. And what sucks about Biden too is that he should have maybe ran in 2016 as well, but his son
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
So it's like bad timing. And to me, as a former Republican, before Trump, they were already talking, even in Texas, about how it was over for the Republicans. And
Yeah.
when you say after Trump it's over, it's over. And the Democrats are in bad shape right now, but I think with the progressives, I think they're young enough to do it. I think the people on the left I know this, are smarter than the bench that the Republicans have. Give me AOC above JD Vance any day. But it's coming to that. And if we could just get through, my mindset is so many days in 3 years, it's like, we can get through that. But if you lose hope, there's no point of living. If all hope is gone, there's no point of living. And that's why, Mike, I listen daily to the Rational Boomer, as you should, on
I
Apple, Spotify, and wherever your podcasts are available.
thank you for that. I'll cut that out and
Yeah, that'll be an
send
ad.
it to my
That's
friend.
some dude from Texas, some redneck looking dude from Texas with a MAGA beard.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, how many people are going through YouTube looking at a picture of your face and my face thinking, there's some Trump humping motherfuckers. Let's listen to those bitches.
Yeah,
Um, but you said something else too that you said I'll say some things to piss people off, and some people might take that as a negative. And I just want to let people know my
nope.
hobby is pissing people off.
Yeah.
I enjoy pissing people off because if you're pissed off, you're thinking for
Yes.
fucking once. So be pissed off at me. I've been married 41 years, going on 42. I've got got 2 kids and a granddaughter and a grandson coming. There's always somebody pissed off at me. I got thick fucking skin. But I'm going to make a prediction on something. We were talking about Gavin Newsom, and everybody presumes that Gavin Newsom would be the candidate in 2028. He's got the looks, he's articulate, he's smart, he's strong, he's tough. And I said, that may well be, but it's a long time away. Things change dramatically. And I've always said that the Democrats have to pick out some candidates that would be likely candidates in 2028. And I'm going to throw out a name nobody else has thrown out that I know of. Just watching what's going on. You might say, Jasmine Crockett. Well, Jasmine Crockett hasn't been in. She's a freshman representative. She's not going to be running for president. AOC, well, she has a problem. She's white and she's of color. And let's be honest, I don't care what anybody says, and I don't agree with it, but whoever runs for Democrats is going to be a white man. That's just the way it's going to be after what we experienced with Kamala. The one guy I think that is trying to emerge to be a likely candidate is Chris Murphy.
Don't know him.
You know him because you see him on TV all the time. Chris Murphy is out there talking against Donald Trump. Google it and look at his face. You'll know who he is. But Chris Murphy is a white guy. He's not young, but he's not old. And he's been talking a lot. He's been speaking out and pushing back. And that's what the Democrats need. Now, I'm not saying he's a shoo-in to be the candidate, but he's one of those people that are kind of separating themselves from the pack, from the Pelosi's, from the Hakeem Jeffries, to maybe take leadership here. Jasmine Crockett looking for leadership. I could see Jasmine Crockett in 2028 being Speaker of the House, or AOC being Speaker of the House. I don't think either one of those two could be president as yet in the current climate. One of them could be vice president. That might happen. Now, when I say it's going to be a white guy, don't say, well, Mike thinks only white guys can be president. No, I would put Jasmine Crockett in president right now over Donald Trump in a fucking snap. But this country has proven that we're sexist and racist. There's enough of us in this country that are sexist and racist. I don't know that it can get done.
And it's not just the Republicans that are that, because
no, it's not.
That's I'll go to my grave. There's two things that, like, the losses in my life that, I mean, Hillary, I didn't think, I mean, I figured she'd win, but when she lost, it's like, well, it's Hillary, and it's, they've done their campaign against her. I think she would have made a hell of a president.
Oh, I do too.
But there was a thing back in 2014 or 13 maybe. The San Antonio Spurs with the great Tim Duncan were playing the Miami Heat, and it was game 6 in Miami. And they were up there, and they were about to win. My boss texted me, hey, we're going to go. San Antonio, when we win something down here, we go downtown and celebrate. For some reason, like a parade. We're a big city with a small town mentality. And he's, go get the champagne. And they had the champagne coming out. The Spurs were ahead. They were about to beat LeBron James. And I was like, and I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I know what blowout means, especially this season. But to be so close and to get that taken from you, I thought that was the worst loss in my life until November. Yeah. Because I think America, and I will say it to my dying days, America fucked up with Kamala. Because it could have been so much better for people, not just, it would have been better, and it would have been better for people like me and you. It would have been better for people like, Old Soul, and who she takes care of.
Right.
Will would probably have been able to get off a couple, high blood pressure medicines like the rest of us.
There you go. Yeah. And be able to cut back on the lisinopril, go from 20 to a 10.
Yeah. But it's like they did that, and it's like, that was as bad as the Spurs thing. And I never thought, and I've seen the Cowboys win. I've seen the Spurs win. I've seen my St. Louis Cardinals win. I've seen my Texas Longhorns win. I've seen all my teams win. There are a lot of people that haven't. But to be that close, and what you just said, that it's going to be a white man, that is the most unfair thing, because she
absolutely
should be running for re-election.
She should be.
She should be running for re-election. Either she should be running for re-election, either running as president, after Joe does his 2 terms. Joe should be finishing his second term, and she should be running in 2028. Having a good debate with Newsom and stuff. And I do think Newsom will be there because he's doing things now that a lot of people don't like. He went on Hannity. He went on different shows. That's what I wish more Democrats would do. I mean, you see Republicans going in MSNBC. I think, to reach that thing, you got to do that. And that's something Gavin Newsom does. He went on Hannity. He debated DeSantis. He wiped the well with him. I mean, that's the kind of leader we need. Oh, he's from California or whatever. Oh, whatever. That's the kind of leader. I mean, I wish Kamala would run, and if she runs again and gets it, I'd vote for her again. But
I think she'd be a great.
I do
I
too.
really
But
counted on her being a great president. And what
yeah,
disappointed me more than anything, I knew once she got to be president, she couldn't fix everything automatically, but at least we'd be able to start digging out. And now we
yeah,
got to wait 4 years to dig out
we
from
can
even deeper.
continue to dig out what Biden started.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Pelosi and Schumer and even Hakeem Jeffries or whatever, they should have let Biden run because, like, we both, we may be in the minority about him winning. He could step down after a couple of years if something happens to him.
Right.
She could take the lever. She could have 2 years, and then 8 more years and run for 10. She's only 60. She can retire when she's and it's like, but no, they believe all this polling, but then all her polling was saying she's going to win, and look what happened. She lost. So fuck polling. The whole Biden. And I see that now. It's like, oh, well, but you don't know how bad the Biden polling was. I mean, Trump's polling's bad, but people still support him, and it's like.
I'm kind of wondering too about Tim Walz. There's an interesting scenario unfolding there. Tim Walz is the governor. He's a successful governor. Republicans don't like him, but fuck them. Tim Walz is running. He's deciding whether he's going to run for governor in 2 years or in 26. Okay. Because he can run again and be governor for another 4 years if he wants to. But then Senator Tina Smith ends up saying she's not going to run for reelection. Think about the timing of this. Tim Walz was pretty popular. He was kind of an unconventional candidate. People liked that he was down home and decent. He had guns. He was in the service. He had all that stuff. So say Walz runs for the Senate seat. He should probably win in Minnesota for the Senate seat.
But he's not running.
Walz, he might be.
He said he wasn't. I read somewhere he's not going to run for it.
He's not going to run for the Senate? I haven't heard that. I'll have to check that out.
Or isn't he? Or maybe it was governor. It was something I thought I read somewhere that said he's not. They thought he would do it, but he's not going to.
That would be surprising to me if because it would be an interesting setup for him to win the Senate seat, then 2 years later have the opportunity to run for the presidency. I don't know that he's the greatest candidate for president, but he's unorthodox enough. He's unique enough. And it's a departure for Democrats. And that's kind of what they need. They need a departure. They need a white guy. And Tim is about the same age as Kamala. So he's still got some youth on his side. Let me just check this. I'd heard that he hadn't decided yet.
Well, it could be like the media,
I'm looking at a thing for KMSP9. Government Tim Walz not running for Minnesota's U.S. Senate seat, spokesman says.
Yeah,
that I find interesting. I wonder why. Maybe he's just tired of fucking politics and he likes being governor. I'm fine with keeping him governor, but it seemed like a natural progression for him if they wanted somebody like him.
Governors, if you want to trade governors, you can have
no.
There's a guy that down here. He's our current mayor, Ron Nornberg. He is I know he's good because one of my MAGA coworkers called him a Marxist. And I was like, does he write with Sharpie on the hurricane like Trump? I don't think he got what I was talking about. He called him a Marxist. Like, isn't Trump a Marxist, especially on hurricanes? And
who is running for the Senate seat in Minnesota? I just got to tell you this. This is interesting.
Jesse Ventura.
Peggy Flanagan. Peggy Flanagan is the lieutenant governor currently.
Okay.
And if Tim Walz isn't running, I'm voting for her. And what's
Oh,
interesting about her, she's an indigenous person, a Native American person. Can you imagine her showing up in the Senate? That would freak out the fucking Republicans. And she's smart and she's good. She'd be a great senator. So if
hey,
not Tim Walz,
your boy's not going
then
to
if
run.
they,
The one that wanted to primary Biden as president. What's his name from up there?
oh, that dip fuck.
You don't hear from him anymore,
Yeah.
do you? Yeah,
Every
there's
so
a
often,
yeah. Our current mayor, Ron Norenberg, he's term limits are about done, so he's served his time out. He's been a great mayor, but I'd like to see him, like, say, Newsom does run or a Democrat does run, and they put Nuremberg in there, as like what they were thinking about with Cisneros, back in the day.
yeah.
So I mean, that would be pretty good. But I mean, I like him. I'd vote for him. But San Antonio's pretty blue. Like they went over a lotly for a Kamala. Which, if we could just like separate ourselves from the rest of us in Austin, and that would be really swell. I mean, he's somebody. I don't know if he. I don't know if he has the things to be. Maybe he could be in the cabinet like Castro was, our former mayor. He was in Biden's cabinet. I think, was it Biden's cabinet or Clinton's cabinet? Clinton, no, not Clinton.
I think it was in Biden's. I think it was in
Obama's
Biden's.
cabinet. I freaking forgot about Obama. Yeah, he was in Obama's. He was like the Secretary of HUD, but his brother's in the I think the House or the Senate. One of them. They're like twins. So
I
yeah,
want
there's a lot of.
as we're coming to the end here, I want to bring this up because I think it's very crucial and it's a turning point for the Republicans because the Republicans will always come out and they will say, we support the veterans. You can always count on us veterans. And it's my contention that we can categorically say just the opposite. Donald Trump and the Republicans hate the veterans. They're trying to crush the veterans. And we know this starting way back with Donald Trump besmirching John McCain because he was a POW, or insulting dead Americans in Europe from World War II. And now all the cuts to the VA, and now talking about firing 80,000 people in the Veterans Affairs Department. Many of those people that they fired are veterans. When Alina Habba was talked about it, well, yeah, we know we work very hard for the veterans, but if they had jobs and they didn't know what they were doing, they should be fired. So now we're calling them incompetent too. You don't get the opportunity in the next election, say you support the veterans. And people say, well, and I say veterans voted for Donald Trump. And people say, not all veterans voted for Donald Trump. No, but 64% of them did. And now you got what you got. Now, I'm not saying these veterans deserve to be punished for this. I don't think they do. They've made a sacrifice for this country. But hopefully they learned a lesson this time, and we don't make the mistake of voting for somebody like Trump or any other Trump-la-fuck next time around. But I think this is a big turning point. When you start pissing off the veterans and the families of the veterans, that's probably the next thing in line behind Social Security where you're just going to blow shit up.
Well, yeah. How many police unions came out for Trump after January 6th? So,
well, that's true.
I'm not saying I'm not. I mean, I'm optimistic because I mean it's one thing to do that, but I mean money rules the world, and and you can't pay your mortgage, and you're out in the street, and or your kids, your grandkids. I mean, that may be the game changer, but Trump's a lame duck president, and I just I didn't think he would be doing this much as he's doing, but I thought I never kind of thought the Republicans would stand up to him, but I believe as we get closer to the election, and those town halls aren't going to stop. And I've seen Democrats now saying that they're doing this stuff, and these people they're not plants like
No.
Johnson said. I mean, I like to live in his world where you're so freaking out of touch that you just I mean, I guess he thinks that's rain down his back off what Trump's pissing on him. I mean, it's just like, I mean, sometimes I wish I could be that delusional to where it's like I think that it's the Trump and the millionaires. It's like the stripper you take all your money and you spend on the stripper. Oh, she likes me. She
She
likes
loves me. We're
she loves
probably
me.
going to be
Yeah.
dating.
And don't get me wrong, in my youth I did stupid shit like that. And you know what? I had a car payment to make. It's
You
like,
know,
why am I don't want to make her boyfriend's car payment. I want to make my own. So maybe they will wake up like this dipshit here did.
I, I, my son, when he turned 18 years old, he's all proud. I'm grown now. He says, me
Yeah.
and my buddies are either going to the casino or the strip joint.
Yeah.
I said, go to the casino. He said, why the casino? I said, because you'll lose some money at the casino, but those girls will take all your motherfucking money and you'll be going to the ATM. Go to the casino. And so, yeah, we are talking about delusional people. And you have to wonder if like the farmers in Nebraska, how bad is it going to have to crash for them? I mean, the whole fucking state may go bankrupt in 6 months because of what Donald Trump did. It's not Biden. It's not cyclical. It's directly because of what Donald Trump did. Does this state go bankrupt and all the farmers go to shit? And do they still stand with Donald Trump? Well, if they do, they fucking deserve what they get.
I don't have much faith about the farmers because my grandfather was a farmer back in the 80s,
Yeah.
and he didn't like Reagan because what my grandfather was a smart guy. And before he died in '93, he told my dad, I ain't voting for no damn Republican. I'm voting for Clinton." And of course, my dad was always a Republican. But we have this thing called Farm Aid that goes on
Yeah.
to this day.
Right.
It's for what Reagan did to the farmers, and they still supported Reagan. So I don't know, Mike. I mean, I know you say stuff about like, well, they're going to do this and they're going to. I don't know, it's not all of them, but I just don't think the average Republican voter that still votes for Trump. I don't think they're going to turn on him. I mean, maybe it will come down to the money, But look down here, we had our power grid go out, and we had all this other stuff. We had I want to say not Sandy Hook, but Uvalde. We had that here, and Greg Abbott still won. We have rolling blackouts all the time. They haven't done anything to make it better. And Greg Abbott still does it. Our Attorney General was on prosecution, and he was under indictment back from the Obama years, which he should have done.
Right.
Should have done. Obama and them should have done that there. But there's Republicans are fast acting on stuff. I mean, you look at what they're doing now. They're seeing how much shit they can get away with.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it have been nice if Merrick Garland kind of tested the boundaries of like what they can do and what they can prosecute? Yeah, the Supreme Court could have stopped it, but we probably wouldn't be in this mess right now if Democrats would have been more. I mean, look how many Democrat presidents we have, and the ERA was finally ratified by Biden.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that. I'm like, I think my friend Laura, who listens every day. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And I think and she told me that, and I'm like, that hasn't been ratified. I remember about the ERA in the 80s.
I
I mean,
remember when I was a kid in the 70s.
yeah.
Well, the same can be said about codifying Roe v. Wade. We had
Yes.
plenty of opportunity to do that, but they sat there with their thumbs up their ass and did nothing. This is my point. We can get on the Republicans and they are a
Yes.
dumpster fire, but we've got problems with the we need an overhaul of everything. This whole idea that there's only Democrats and Republicans. Democrats aren't the Democrats of old. Republicans aren't the Republicans of old. So because your grandfather voted Republican or Democrat, that's why you do it. Makes no sense because they're entirely different organizations. We've got to
Yep.
look more at the people who are running and maybe look at a different way of doing that. Do you think Donald Trump is tearing down the Republican Party? He's been doing it for years. The Democrats aren't coming through. Do you think we're at a turning point when this all comes to a culmination where everything fucking changes with our government? Our judicial system has no teeth. Our Congress has no teeth. We're in kind of this whole democracy thing is very weak from what I can tell. I got a feeling, I would hope that something would change with regard to that. I just want to say one thing too. People will say to me, "You were wrong about this. You were wrong about that." When I came on TikTok and the podcast, I've never said that I will never be wrong. I will be wrong, but the things I've been wrong about and I learned a lesson now too. The things I were wrong about by Kamala and the judicial system is for one reason. I gave too much credit for intelligence for the electorate. I gave too much credit to the strength of the judicial system, and I gave too much credit for the cunning of the Democratic Party. I thought all these people were better than they ended up being, and I fucked up. Fuck me running. I won't make that mistake again. I applied common sense and logic, and nothing that's gone on has gone with common sense or logic. So now I don't know what to do because that's the one way I figure things out, common sense and logic. It works a lot of times, but clearly lately it hasn't been a factor.
Yeah, that's why I think that, when I hear people, oh, Elon stole the election, you're starting to sound like Trump. We didn't turn out like we did for Biden. And I think it's like another thing from 2016. A lot of, no way you can win again. I mean, you look at some of the polling. I mean, he wasn't behind her at all. And I mean, some here and there, but I don't know. When you get down to the people are gonna want it. They're gonna want the change, and obviously the Democrats and a lot of them didn't show up. They didn't want the change, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I still get texts and everything about donating to the Democratic Party. Why?
I do too.
I mean, I can see donating to those runoff states. That they're going for Matt Gaetz' site and all that stuff. I can see that donating to that, but I get stuff from Hakeem Jeffries is like, I can give you, $200 million right now. You couldn't do anything with it.
Well, that's what one time I'm kind of snarky sometimes when they send me those things, and uh, I send a note back. I know nobody's reading it, but it makes me feel better. I say,
I did that
win them.
Yeah.
Win a motherfucking election and I'll send you some money. And, people always say that Elon bought the election with $250 million.
It didn't hurt.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that either because Kamala had more than $1 billion. It wasn't about the money. It was something else.
And it could have been, it could have been the elections, but what does it say about our elections if we can't keep that? What is it? If Elon was able to turn those swing states, what does it say about our system? The system's fucked.
Absolutely. The system is fucked.
I hear people, well, if we have another election, we're going to have another fucking election.
Well,
because
of course
what's going to happen is that you can kind of see cracks in it already. The honeymoon with Elon and Trump is starting to break up. And Trump could have and Elon could have all this shit on him, but Trump's eventually going to screw Elon or vice versa. They're not going to make it through there.
It's already started. I don't know if you heard this story, but with all the shit that's going on with Elon, Elon went and talked to the Republicans a while back, and then Donald Trump went to talk to the Republicans, and this is what he said. He said, Elon doesn't have the authority to fire anybody. You people running the departments have it. He has to run everything through you in order to decide who to let go and what to do in those situations. So he's taken some power away from Elon and handed it to some other dumb fucks. But that maybe tells you that there is some kind of rift or some concerns about what Elon is doing, and Donald Trump's getting some backlash for it.
But Elon's not part of Dodge. Didn't Trump tell us that? And then at the State of the Union said he was. They testified it and stuff. That's how stupid they are.
Yeah, and fucking perjury right there
on the center stage. You know who fucking probably in Trump's here, and he hates fucking Elon. And I listened to him, I'm like, God damn, I hate agreeing with that fuck Steve Bannon. It's like, damn it, I hate agreeing with him, but he's right. He's like, why do you want to give all these tax breaks to the rich? And he's like, exactly. And then, there's something also in Texas too. It's going to be interesting to see in 2026. John Cornyn's up for re-election, and I almost would vote for Ken Paxton to get him out of Texas and let it be the nation's problem and not ours. He's going to try to run, I think, for that's how delusional he is. Yeah, you can win in Texas because, I'm sorry, but I mean, the guy, I mean, he has a lot more, but he thinks he can run for the Senate. And Cornyn's probably, I think, a pretty safe bet because Cornyn is pretty moderate if you compared to what Republicans are nowadays. Like Trump was talking about getting rid of the CHIPS Act, and like Cornyn was like, no, we try to improve it maybe, but not get rid of it. See, that's what Trump wants to do. He wants to destroy everything that like Biden did, be
Absolutely. That's
damned
what
if
he
Steve
did with
Jobs.
Obama.
Yeah. And I just love to see, I would love to see a Cornyn, Ken Paxton. I would love for the nation to see what we have down here with Paxton, because I'm kind of surprised that, that he probably knew that he probably couldn't pass I don't think the Senate would have confirmed. I think it'd been like Gates. I think Paxton would have been other Gates because he has so much baggage on him. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I don't know what Paxton does in his free time, like, Gates or whatever, but that's how delusional he is. He think he can primary and win the Senate, for that. So, I mean, it's Texas and he's won re-election attorney general, but I'd almost vote for him to get him out of Texas and make it everybody's problem, not just mine. Kidding, of course.
We're gonna wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to bring up one thing. It's really a non-story, but it's pretty egregious when I heard it. You know who Ben Shapiro is?
Yeah.
That squeaky little motherfucker that has a podcast and he's radical right. He annoys the fuck out of me. And he thinks he's a master negotiator and a master debater. He's a masturbator, but he's not a master debater. But he said something on his he said something on his show, and you can see he's just trying to get clout. He's trying to cause some noise because nobody's been listening to him lately. He said that Donald Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin. And if you don't know who that is, Derek Chauvin is the man who murdered on videotape George Floyd in Minneapolis. Oh, that's a brilliant fucking idea, because I guarantee you 15 minutes after Derek Chauvin gets out of jail, he's going to be dead. He will be dead. There are people, and then there will be fucking riots in every fucking street in this country. But some dumb fuck says something like that. I mean, we watched the motherfucker murder him on video, and Ben Shapiro seems to think they should pardon him. This motherfucker's just trying to get attention and viewers. The reason I bring it up is because Donald Trump is dumb enough to try to do something like that just to own the libs.
Well, maybe
that'll help him if he does. There's going to be a lot of trouble if he does that.
Maybe he thinks that'll help him try to win that Nobel Peace Prize. All goes back because Obama won it. Yeah, Elon's supposedly on board for that too. So that tells you it's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, he might as well go just pardon the Menendez brothers, man. He'd probably win some points with that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think they should pardon them. It's like
it's too bad Manson's dead, because you could pardon him too.
Yeah. Well, he did something with, they gave, I mean, I think it was some civil rights leader or some thing that Kim Kardashian helped, had to kiss the ring to get him done. I mean, he'll do anything, but man, if he thinks that pardon that guy will help him with anything, he always says that, the African Americans love him. I mean, maybe he thinks this will help him do that. They're so delusional, Mike. It wouldn't surprise me if it happens. Did you ever see Cardi B take down Ben Shapiro? I mean,
no,
it was
I'll check it out though, because he deserves
it. Google it. She sang that song WAP, which I'll let you Google.
Wet ass pussy.
Yeah, and I guess she had a song called that, and I guess he went after her or something like that, and she don't like, even when Trump got elected, what are these motherfuckers thinking? I mean, it's like. She's another, like, her and Jasmine Crockett should be the ticket. I'd vote for both of them, let them do it in 2026. But yeah, he's honestly, man, I don't like Trump. I don't know what gave it away and, other ones. But when I see my Facebook friends follow Ben Shapiro, that is like an automatic block. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I mean, it's like, okay, it's one thing with Trump. Yeah, whatever. But man, you follow this guy, a knockoff drugstore Rush Limbaugh wannabe. I mean, he talks
a squeaky voice.
He would make Kermit they give a lot of crap to, what's his name for sounding like Kermit the Frog, who's a quarterback for Kansas City, but his voice is
Mahomes.
Worse. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and he's so condescending because he almost talks to you like Donald Trump Jr. does.
Yeah.
and it's like there's a wrestler, his name, he's not a very known one, but he has this saying, I'm better than you, and you know it. That's exactly what I think of when I see Shapiro. Like he's
Yeah. He's a
talking to
piece of
you
shit.
like, I'm taking this time, getting paid millions of dollars. I mean, he's not even Joe Rogan's class because Joe Rogan's just an idiot.
Yeah.
It talks about stuff. But yeah, he just got that condescending stuff that, and people like that stuff, I guess. But I mean, he is what you call a nerd, but not in a
Oh,
good
he's a
nerd.
fun. He's somebody. If I went to high school with him, he's somebody I definitely would have beaten up.
Put in the locker.
Not because I
Why?
was a bully, but because he's an asshole.
Can I ask why they want to? I mean, I know the Republicans, and they just they want to put a resort in Gaza. So why do they want to pardon this guy?
Well, because they're racist and they want to own the libs. That's the only reason they do things. They want to
But,
own the libs.
but there's a lot of people that are in jail for stupid shit like marijuana use that they should be pardoning. I mean, it's
Yeah, but they're brown, so they should be in jail.
yeah. But you know what's so fucked up about that? I heard all these fucking people talking about what Biden did. Democrats, Republicans shouldn't have pardoned his son. That's getting more blowback than what this guy's saying here, and that Trump's even considered with Elon.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up this country is that they're more upset about Biden pardon his son because he knows they would go after him.
Yeah.
But this is fine. A guy that's a corrupt cop kills an innocent man.
Yeah. On video. It's not like
Yes.
we didn't see the motherfucker. He's guilty. We saw it. It's
Why don't they
fucking
just go ahead
unbelievable.
and do didn't that Trevon kid pardon that guy too? I mean, why
Yeah.
don't you just do, it's like they're setting everything else back. So maybe this is just part of their plan. Maybe this is some
Yeah. No.
project 2025 we didn't see. But of course,
Well,
Trump didn't know
probably.
that. He,
No, he
but
had knew nothing about that, knew nobody in it.
his
Well,
first 100
Jay,
days are right down the thing. So
Jace, we're going to wrap things up. I appreciate you coming by. It's been a while since we heard from you. Don't make it so long next time. We're always anxious to hear what's going on in Texas and your point of view about the rest of the fucked up shit going on in this country. So thanks for coming by.
well, I appreciate you having me, Mike. I know you're about to send the milk carton out with my picture on it about being
I
missing. So
was.
I'm glad you can call that back now. So
I I,
I hope
I
to be
was
on
going to
more.
do that. Anytime you want, you're more than welcome. We're doing a lot of guests, and I like having the guests on. So, those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.